Mmm. Gotta love those sweet guitar licks.
Mmm. Good to be back.
Yes. Man, that is the Allman Brothers rocking out live at Fillmore East. I've been jamming this a lot lately. Really been enjoying it. So I'm starting it off. I started the show, Mike, right there. That's my Music Corner edition for this week, man. Allman
Okay.
Brothers.
Love it.
Allman Brothers Band. I know everybody knows them, but I tell you what, they're beautiful. Guys, Mike and Lebs are back. Thank you so much for being with us. We are super, super excited. There is so much going on right now. World Cup just finished. The Premier League is about to start this weekend. The Community Shield just ended. And, man, it's a good time to be a footy fan. So, as always, I'm going to introduce our guests now. We've got, of course, Michael Flowers. Mike, how are you tonight, man?
I'm good, man. As little summer hiatus, back in school, back in the flow, ready to put some podcast out. Friday, Premier League season totally snuck up on me.
Oh, I can't believe it. It's
Let me
incredible.
ask you this. We've been listing it as season 1. Are we in season 2 of the podcast now?
Oh, my goodness. This is it. The beginning of season 2 right now. Man, thanks everybody who listened in season 1. We're moving into season 2. Beautiful. Hey, I want to take a second to introduce our guest. It's really cool how he makes his way onto our humble podcast today. His name is Misha Goz. He is a missionary in Russia, and he has been a friend of mine and my family for many, many years. And I just actually got to hang out with him a little bit over the last recent weeks, and we started talking about the World Cup because, believe it or not, he lives in Russia. In fact, he gave me an incredible gift, which is a World Cup magnet from St. Petersburg, and it's on my fridge right now. I absolutely love it. Misha, thank you so much for being here, man. Really, really
Hey,
happy to have
thanks
you.
so much, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a
Man.
joy to join you today.
Man, talk to us a little bit, Misha, about just your background and who you are and what you do and growing up. Did you grow up in Russia? I never
That's
really
right.
found that
Yeah.
out. Wow.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I grew up in Russia. I was born in Leningrad in USSR. It's the same city, which is now called St. Petersburg, Russia. And of course, growing up in Russia, every boy would go out and play football. Of course, you call it soccer here, but it's football around the world.
That's it.
And
And we call
so
it football
yeah.
on this show. I'll tell you what, Misha, we always
Oh,
do. So
all right. Oh,
feel free
good
to
to
call
know.
it football.
Good to
Yes,
know.
sir.
So yeah, playing football in free time after school and weekends, and it's just something that you grow up doing naturally, and that's a leisure activity every boy loves in Russia. And of course, as you play football, you can't not watch football and follow teams and competitions, and there's nothing as big as a World Cup. Of course, this is
Oh,
the biggest event.
absolutely. My goodness. So how long has it been? Has Russia hosted a World Cup before? I feel so ignorant. I wish I should know this.
Well, actually, this is very amazing because it was the first time ever Russia hosted World Cup.
Wow.
And yeah, Russian teams and before that, Soviet Union teams have participated in many World Cups, but never hosted.
Wow.
So
Let me
it's
let me
a
ask.
it's a big thing.
Wow.
Were you in the country leading up to the World Cup?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I was in St. Petersburg for the whole year prior to that, and there was much excitement going on, and of course throughout Russia, 11 cities were preparing to host games. So new stadiums were built or old ones were upgraded, and it was like preparing for a big party and expecting a lot of fun guests. That was the atmosphere that was
Yes.
all around the
Oh,
country for a whole year.
wow.
What a buzz for a country.
Oh
That's
man.
that is amazing. And how far are the cities apart from each other that this is going on? Like, was it something that? And you are living in St. Petersburg, right? Like that's where you're
That's
currently
right.
living.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I live in St. Petersburg. Yeah. Well, all the games, like I said, they were in 11 cities. If you imagine Russia, the country that spreads over 10 time zones from west to east.
Wow.
All of these games were happening in the westernmost part of Russia, actually in only 2 time zones, if I'm correct. So it's all European part of Russia and only westernmost territory.
Okay.
So that's and that I think that was done on purpose, so teams wouldn't have to fly around too much, because each team didn't just play in one city. I guess it's done on purpose, and normally teams travel around different stadiums and different cities.
And that makes sense. I mean, you want it makes sense that they're on the western side, because that puts them closest to a lot of these players who, a lot of them spend most of their time in Europe.
That's right.
And a lot of the fans are going to be coming from Europe, from the biggest teams. So that really does make a lot of sense.
We're only in Russia, only 1 hour time zone from like Germany, 2 hours from England. So so it was convenient for them that way.
Gotcha. Very cool. So tell us about what it was like there in St. Petersburg during all of this, and just, did it affect your day to day? Could you feel the world was coming?
Oh man, yeah. Coming up, it was everybody's like talking about football all the time, and watching different segments on TV or internet, how different teams are preparing and so forth. So that was football was all up in the air, everywhere. You can breathe it and sense it. And then, of course, when the teams started arriving, and newscasts everywhere, so that was fun. And one of the most notable things when the World Cup already was going on in Russia is just fans from around the world, everywhere. And a lot of times you don't have to guess where they're from. Normally in St. Petersburg, there are a lot of tourists, especially in the summer, and you may not understand where they're from. Just understand, okay, these are tourists. Not so during World Cup. If you see a group of fans from Mexico, they're dressed in the national colors with their hats. If you see Germans coming also with their, black and red and yellow flags everywhere and so forth. So it was a fun atmosphere, and people were all very friendly, and they wanted to take pictures with everybody and exchange greetings and so forth. So it was great.
Oh, Mike, you got any questions? Anything popping in your brain you want to ask him?
Am I allowed to ask about the Russian national team, or are we going to segue into that?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Hey, fine. Mike, any questions? Fire away.
So my question is, and so before the World Cup, before any group games, what was your expectation, and what was just kind of the expectation of Russia? Like, Egypt was a pretty solid team as far as we knew coming into this, and Salah having this really incredible season. Like, what was Russia as a nation expecting from this team? Like, what would have been okay? Like, what would have left the Russian country satisfied with performance, so to speak?
Oh, I tell you, everybody, of course, coming into the beginning of the tournament was thinking would be great to get out of the group. So, so getting out and playing in the round of 16, that would be, I guess, everybody's hope. And so, if you looked at the groups, Russian group, or let's call it Russian group, it's Group A, was actually a good group for Russia. Because as we looked at, Uruguay, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, you understand, okay, Uruguay is going to be very strong, they're always very strong. And then we could see that, Russia could make a second place, and that's what we did. So everybody was very happy with how Russia played in the group event.
That's awesome. Mike, do you have any more questions?
I want to say one word, Cheryshev. What a player, man. Really enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, I agree. It was good to watch Russia. And I tell you, of course, one of the most nerve-wracking games for us to watch was Russia-Spain.
Oh,
And that's that's the right there in round of 16. Russia was playing one of the strongest teams around the world, and like I said, we were already sensing like we were feeling okay. We did good. We came out of the group, but boom, the next thing, having to play Spain. So the chances for the victory, well, maybe many people felt like are very, very small. And yet it is it is something that when you're hosting World Cup, the whole nation comes together, everybody is rooting for their team and believing in miracle. And the miracle did happen. So it
wow.
was amazing. I remember I was in Moscow at that time. I was in Moscow on just a part of the summer project. So I came to a different city, like I usually, like I said, live in St. Petersburg. So I traveled to Moscow, and we were in a room with like around 40 or 45 college students together watching that game, Russia Spain, on a large screen.
Oh my
And man, that
goodness.
was a great atmosphere. And when Russia won those penalty kicks, it was like dream come true, but even better. Like something
Oh,
that you didn't believe could happen, it happened.
That's
wow.
it. It was unbelievable. It
That's
was
right.
incomprehensible, and like just watching the fans just absolutely losing it.
Mm.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
totally. That was fabulous. And then that same evening, okay, while the game was going on, we were in that room watching the game on the large screen TV. And then everybody who watched the game, wherever they were at home or with a group of friends somewhere, they came out on streets of Moscow to celebrate and to congratulate each other. And so it's interesting. I was downtown that evening quite late. It was past midnight. Well, the authorities of Moscow blocked the streets for traffic hours before. So they did very well because there were so many people that came out. It would have been just a difficult situation if the cars were also running. But all the streets were clear. Everything was just the restaurants were open. There was a lot of festivities. It was just a great celebration, as if we won World Cup. But it was for that moment all that matters. We won against Spain.
Let me ask you this: were you pretty pleased with like how the fans of other countries kind of treated your country, so to speak? Was everyone really respectful? Did
Oh
the
yeah, that.
police and everything, did they allow fun? Like how was that from your
Oh
perspective?
yeah, yeah. From my perspective, like I said, it was like a great party that lasted a whole month.
Oh
All
man,
these fans from around the world came, and everybody was so kind to each other. Everybody, celebrated, even if the team lost. You know, they would still come out and be
that's
friendly,
beautiful.
and it was just an incredible atmosphere. It really was.
Man, I am so jealous. So jealous. That sounds absolutely amazing. Um, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. I was talking to my friend Zachary Hawkins today on the phone, and he and I went to Manchester City versus Tottenham game here in Nashville last summer. And he
Mm.
got a small taste of what a good atmosphere, and that wasn't even a great, football atmosphere, but it was the coolest one that he had ever been to, and he caught a little taste of the beauty that football is when you have all of these fans just 100% into the game, living and dying by every single kick. You know, a lot of these and a lot of people who watch football play it. That I think that's part of the beauty of this game. It's not like some other sports where, when you go play, like it's tough to even comprehend, what they're doing. Like, and it is for our sport as well. It's incomprehensible what some of these guys can do, but you can still go play and really have a lot of fun, I feel like, at this sport. So it makes the fans more knowledgeable, I feel like. Am I off there, Mike? What do you think about that? Like, do you think the average fan like probably plays more football than fans of other sports do? I mean, I don't know. That may not be true. Most basketball fans probably play. I think
I
it's
didn't
hard
hear
to
you.
play American football.
I didn't hear that
Anyway,
first part. Are you talking about American or across or just American? I guess I
I
wouldn't know actually other
it's probably
countries.
a silly point to be honest, but I was just thinking that a lot more people who watch, um, soccer or football, probably enjoy playing the sport as well than maybe people who watch American football, where it's tough to play the sport, once you're an adult.
I totally.
Honestly, I think you're right. I think you're right
I,
because it's like, to play football, no special equipment is needed. Anybody can just go out
Yeah,
and kick the ball. So yeah,
exactly.
there's that experience.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
were there people? Did you see people playing football in the street at all in Russia, or are they still, busy like streets with traffic and everything?
Just to be honest with you, I didn't see very much playing football during that. I don't know why. Maybe I was so focused on just the big games, or maybe
Yeah.
everybody were, and so people weren't playing that much between each other. But yeah,
I'm just imagining tailgating at one of these, like going before the game and like hanging out. Like, what was y'all's experience with that? So when you went to how many games? One or two games?
I actually like live at the stadium. We were at one game only.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a great experience. For that, we traveled to another city called Kaliningrad, westernmost point of Russia, borders with Poland there. And anyway, that was a great game. We were very glad to be there. And it was Switzerland versus Serbia. So
Oh, cool.
it's a different group than not Russia group. And anyway, when my wife and I and our daughter, the three of us were there, we weren't even sure at first which team we were going to root for, but decided to root for Switzerland actually. And we have some friends from Switzerland, and I just kind of like that team, how they were going. And when we got to the stadium, uh, there weren't that many, well, comparatively, there weren't that many Swiss fans. And most of the Russian fans at the stadium were rooting for Serbia.
Hmm.
And, as another Slavic nation, I guess the Russians decided to support Serbia. So basically, Meredith and I and our daughter, we were like the minority amongst all the other Russian fans who were mostly rooting for Serbia, but we didn't want to go back and change our minds. We were like, okay, we're rooting for Switzerland. In fact, we couldn't change our minds anymore because we had Swiss flags drawn on our faces. So anyway, but yeah, after losing the first goal, then Switzerland came back and won 2-1. So that was a good game for us, and we were very, very happy.
That's awesome. Did you follow anything with what went on with the Swiss team and the like political issue that happened?
Yeah, it was interesting with that. Actually, during the game, we didn't notice anything, and then just on reports on TV afterwards or internet. So, yeah, I guess something like that is not noted during the game by the
Right.
fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it didn't bother anybody there. So I guess the news reports sometimes they go more in depth and they find some small things. I don't blame them that they need to do that because there's one good, really good quality about FIFA is that they don't allow politics to mix with sports,
Yeah.
and that's a good rule, and they upkeep it, and they will penalize and issue big fines to teams and fans who don't comply.
Yeah. It's $10,000. I'm looking at it right now. World Cup
Okay,
players fined $10,000, and this is on CBSNews.com.
that's right. Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
anyway, so it wasn't noted by this, the fans in the stadium, but it was noted by I don't know, whoever watches closely what's happening, and I'm glad that even minute things are not being let go. And honestly, for this World Cup, there's something else that was happening for the first time. It was all the TV, how do they call it? Special recordings that the the referee can watch.
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah,
video replay.
VAR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was I was so pleased with how that worked. I mean,
Totally.
sometimes it kind of slowed the game a little bit, but it allowed for things to be going so much smoother and with fairly, just if somebody had the handball, it was there. You could see it. And
Yeah.
so used to be that how several years ago Diego Maradona
Yep.
scored a goal,
Yeah.
Yep. Hand of
and that,
God.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, not anymore. And they say actually in this tournament there were more penalty kicks during the games
Yes.
Yes.
because of that. Because what sometimes a human eye can't catch, then the camera recorded.
Huh.
So,
I'm
Here's
gonna
my
swing
quick.
over to Mike. Mike,
I
real
got a
quick.
quick. I got a quick question for both of y'all. Just say yes or
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Penalty in the World Cup final against Petersburg. Was that a penalty or no?
All right, you're gonna have to give me more. I'm drawing a blank.
Uh,
The
they
World Cup
went.
final, France versus Croatia,
Yes, and
and that ball comes in. France is attacking.
yes,
It's on a corner, right?
it's a
I'm trying to
cross
get
or
my
yeah, and he
mental picture of this. Oh, I remember this. I
French
thought he
player's
reached.
going to hit it, and
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah, yeah.
missed it, and it went to the guy's arm.
I thought, oh man, that's so tough. But I actually thought it was a penalty when I watched it, like because his arm was so far away from his body. And I know that's a natural way to jump. Like you don't jump with your arms next to your body, but if you're in the box, you kind of need to, Misha, do you remember that during the final?
I remember that, and even while they were kind of deciding what to do and sort of disputing, I was telling my wife and others who were with me, I said, "It's definitely they should call it a penalty, because if
Yeah.
they did not, it would be a huge precedent. It's like basically you can just excuse yourself for playing with your hand,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and the players need to keep that in mind, and then they just need to have their hands out of the way. I know it was unintentional, but it was a definite penalty kick.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think? Definite or no? You had
You know,
questions on it, didn't you?
here's the thing.
Mike
I
roots
can
for
watch it.
just Misha. Just so you know,
Yeah,
Mike was
easy,
rooting.
easy fella.
Mike was
Let him listen to me unbiased, and
Okay.
then
All right.
then you can tell
All
him.
right. All
Here's, I mean, it's obvious. I was rooting for Croatia, like for.
right.
I mean, when I was watching the VAR, I was like, they're gonna give a penalty. I thought it was super harsh. I thought that was, they say it. And here's the thing, I feel bad for the ref because there's nothing to protect him in that situation. He's gonna get criticized no matter which way he goes, and that
Yeah.
call. So like,
And
we need to help the refs out.
it's
I thought it
interesting.
was.
Well, we need to help the refs out. Was why they got VAR in there. That's the argument for VAR. A lot of places.
And it mostly did. I feel like it gave them the opportunity to make the right
Yeah.
call. I feel like that
There's
call
a-
could have gone either way, and it could have been justified. I thought it was harsh.
I think so. I think what's interesting is now there's going to be a shift. I think there's been a shift maybe towards giving too many penalties because there's a difference in football. It's got all this gray area in the rules, and it's really interesting. And I've started noticing it the more I watch because like fouls, fouls during a game when a ref gives a card, when a penalty is given, it's extremely subjective. It is. I mean, it's more objective than or more subjective than a lot of other sports out there. I think it's more subjective than American football. I think it's probably equally as subjective as basketball is, though. But isn't it odd though? There's all this play in the rules, and there's this
Yeah.
gray area. And when you apply VAR to that, it's tough because VAR is more black and white. You're seeing it. Yes, the arm was out. It hit that arm that was away from the body. Is that,
But
an
context.
attempt?
Yeah.
Right. Was that contact? It's easy to tell if there's contact, but what you can't tell when you slow it down into the super slow-mo is was he actually attempting to play the ball with that arm? Or was it a natural position? Because natural position comes into the giving of the penalty.
I just feel like Croatia just got shagged in that match, that first half, man. They totally outplayed France. France didn't do anything the first half. You have a Griezmann dive, questionable Pogba offside, and then that penalty call, people may not agree. I feel like it could have gone either way. And, France didn't do anything. like for that. And then in the second half, it just ended up being too much. Like that was just.
Well, that's why I love doing this show with you, because I do love. We don't talk about this beforehand for a reason, because I want your honest opinion. But my honest opinion was that France outplayed Croatia by a considerable amount. Like
In the first half?
I
The second
felt,
half. Go ahead.
I just felt that the talent on France overran Croatia. I felt like the pace got to them. Croatia were tired. They got leggy. It was one of those things where I felt like the better team did win, ultimately. I really do. And I felt like France had showed me something. The way they played to beat Belgium really impressed me. And I really think that they showed up when they needed to. Like I questioned them all season, and we all know this. Everyone who listens to this podcast knows I was not a fan of the French national team. I was rooting for Croatia 100%. But I tell you what, France showed up, and the talent got it together, I feel like, when it mattered most.
I'll agree with you that it was the talent that did it, because I thought Croatia were better coached, the cohesiveness and stuff. But I mean, like world class players on France took their chances, and that was really just kind of the end of it for that day
That's it.
for me.
That's what we said at the beginning of the entire World Cup, right? You and I sat here on the show and said Croatia are going to have trouble scoring because they don't have the same talent up front that maybe France does, or at the time we thought Germany, But there was a gulf in talent, and I think Croatia did really, really well. Did you get
Oh,
to talk
guys,
to many?
Croatia
Yeah.
was great at this tournament, wasn't they?
Yeah, give us your opinion on this, Misha.
Just coming up from the very beginning, I think they were a great team. And then in semifinals, winning against England, that was just their moment. I think that was. I actually have a good friend who lives in St. Petersburg, also a missionary, who's English. So, and he was a big fan of England, and from the very beginning, he was like, England's gonna win. And when they were when they were coming, after yes,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
They were awful.
after quarterfinals, they won 2-0 against Sweden, and so this friend of mine, he was like, yeah, well, other teams they just don't have it. We have the best players, and so we're going to win. And then I was actually with him over his flat. We were watching this game together, England Croatia.
Gotcha.
And man, what a disappointment on his face. And he just I felt sorry for him. But Croatia did wonderful.
What's his name?
Sean. Yeah, so I felt sorry for Sean.
Hey Sean, I hope you get to listen to this, man. I'm sure you're an incredible person. Sean, my man. England were never going to win, brother. They were never going to win.
It would have been an absolute travesty for England to win the World Cup. They didn't show anything. It was these spotty goals. I didn't see a lot of creativity. I mean, they had the players, no doubt. They had a talented squad, but there was just that creativity wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they just played really, I don't know. Yeah.
It was flat. It felt flat to me.
I don't know, you guys. I liked England. Yeah, I watched that game, England Sweden too, and I really thought they did pretty good. And they have a very good goalkeeper. I love the goalkeeper. English.
Butland, he's good.
He is good.
Yeah. So anyway, they'll have their chance. Most of their players are pretty young, and we'll see how they do next time. The biggest surprise of all was Germany not coming out of the group. Oh, that was just a devastation. And I don't know if you guys followed the year before. They had this tournament also in Russia called what is it called? Federation Cup.
Federation Cup.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What's it called? I'm sorry, I'm
Confederations Cup.
Confederation Cup. Yeah. So Germany won that. It was just a year ago. Of course, it's kind of like a lower standing tournament, but it's still a big international deal. And Germany came and they looked so strong just a year ago, and now not coming out of the group, I could not believe it.
Oh, it was shocking. We couldn't believe it either. We had projected Germany to go very far. Didn't we have them as one of our contenders to win, Mike?
We had them versus Brazil in the final and Brazil winning.
Uh-huh.
Both of us did.
We had Brazil winning and against Germany in the final. That's great.
I have a comment to say about England, and I totally agree with Misha. I think England will be better. They'll be back. I think
Yeah.
they'll find. I think a player like Jack Grealish or someone like that could really help this team in creativity. Like, a team can be better for sure, but England, I don't think they'll ever find a smoother path to the World Cup final. The teams they would have had to play to be in the final, I don't think I've ever seen a smoother path for one of the bigger nations.
Yeah.
And I think there's this real sense of a huge opportunity missed in England.
There is, but that team, that wasn't the team though. Like you said, Travesty England team had won the World Cup. I don't think that's far off because we've seen so many better English teams over the years. Now I know recently it's been down, but this team does not compare to the great England sides. There's a lack of creativity in the midfield, and there is a lack of support for Harry Kane in a lot of these games. And England, this side will get better. I believe in this side, and I believe that next go-round, I think they're going to be real contenders.
I don't think there will ever be another more underwhelming winner for the Golden Boot. Like 3
Oh my
penalties.
gosh! Yes,
Harry
there
Kane.
you go. Case in point. Thank you.
I think Kane will have that on his trophy case for 30 years. He'll be telling his daughter about it. He'll be telling her about the time he swore in her life, and class act.
Misha, Mike brings this up every podcast.
All right.
Mike has 2 kids and he loves his daughter, so it offends him that Harry Kane would swear on his daughter's life that he scored a goal off of his shoulder.
A deflection of his teammate's free kick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I agree. I think it is pretty offensive. He probably should.
Yeah, I think he shouldn't have said that. Yeah.
But anyway, not that big of
Germany.
a deal. Germany,
Man.
yes.
Just shocking.
They couldn't finish anything.
I said
They
their
couldn't
weak.
put the ball. Sorry.
We agreed that their weakness. We were like, who's the striker for this team?
Right. Yep.
What was the feel around? Were you around any German fans in Russia, or like was there like this shock? Because we were pretty shocked here, but I wasn't around as many people watching the game.
I wasn't around any German fans. Somehow I didn't come to the right place at the right time, I guess. But lots of Russians were for Germany, and so there was just a lot of disappointment. Yeah, I mean, Russians just for some reason, really like German football, and I think Germany produces something of good quality when they play football. Sure. And so just even like I said previously, a year ago, we watched them play real well. Last World Cup, they played very well. And of course, that devastating game against Brazil, that was something embarrassing at the last World Cup. But anyway, just kind of I guess Russians were looking forward to Germany advancing and showing some good times playing in round of 16 and quarterfinals and finals and everything. And then just to lose that team early on, I guess a lot of Russians felt disappointment even for the kind of tournament that we will have without Germany.
Wow.
I have a question for you too, Misha. So kind of in the United States, and you've been in the U.S., so you may know this, like there's this like vitriol, dislike, huge rivalry, USA-Mexico, and most Americans watching the World Cup, not me, I enjoyed watching Mexico. I've had but like Americans it's just the rivalry. They don't like Mexico. What kind of team, you mentioned Russians liking Germany. Is there a team or kind of a rival nation or something like just like this unanimous, like Russia, like we don't want to see them do well, or kind of a rival as far as the footballing world goes?
No, I understand that question very well. I can't think of a team or country like that kind of rubs Russia the wrong way. The funny thing, I just saw a line somewhere recently when England played Croatia in Scotland. You couldn't find a single Croatian shirt out because they were all sold. They were bought by Scottish fans. Wow. And it's because of the rivalry. I mean, they come out, guys from Scotland, they'll come out to watch the game, England versus anybody, and they will buy shirts and flags of that country, opposing country who's playing England. And that's just ongoing there. And it's like a rivalry between Scotland and England, so bad. But of course, yeah. So by contrast, I think in Russia, I really can't think of a country who Russia really would have those feelings.
Is there a team for this World Cup for you outside of Russia that you just like really enjoyed the football, the harmony, the energy about them?
Yeah, probably France was that team. So I kept silent when you guys were just saying France, Croatia. I was for France, and I do think that they were definitely overall the best team. So I'm glad they won. I also very much enjoyed watching Brazil this time, and I was sad when they lost against Belgium. So yeah, my wife actually very much favored Belgium, and so we had it was maybe one game that we were on opposite sides as we watched that, but Belgium won 2-1 against Brazil. So, but anyway, Russians in general like Brazil, and follow them, and like their players. So I think a lot of Russians were disappointed when Brazil lost.
It was disappointing to me. I was rooting for Brazil, and man, I was just so bummed about the way we ended up performing. I was disappointed about the performance overall. Just disappointed. Brazil never had that swagger that I expected them to have. They never looked super dynamic. I never saw the samba that I wanted to see. Mike, where was the samba? Did you see it?
I think Neymar, unfortunately, Neymar limited this team.
Why? Why do we have to talk about him? Man. No, I know
Neymar.
we need to, but
my English friend Sean, he says Neymar is just a big fat diver.
Oh, he is. He really is. It's embarrassing.
And I think what ended up happening is Coutinho was the starlet of this team for me. Yeah. And I think Neymar, I'm not going to blame him entirely. I don't know for sure the samba didn't come out. I think Chichi, is that his name? The coach? Yeah. He's more of a defensive coach. And I mean, they were in it with Belgium. There was a player. I see we're going to talk about our favorite player. I'm going to speak to my favorite player of this tournament when that comes up. But, I mean, they could have won that game against Belgium.
Speak to it now. Yeah, do it now. Who do you want to talk about?
For me, the player, I know Modric won the player of this tournament, and that's fine, deservingly. But I thought the player who had the best tournament was Eden Hazard. That guy. Yeah. And there was this 20 minutes against Brazil when Belgium went up. And the dude, Brazil were literally having to tackle him and drag him to the ground. The ball could not be taken from him. And he put that Belgium team on his back, held the ball up, counterattacking, defending. And he was just incredible this World Cup.
He and Kevin De Bruyne played very well together. Ooh. Those two dudes ran that team. Oh, my goodness. I was so disappointed when they went out. So disappointed. I was really counting on that. I thought they had it.
They would have been worthy. Just as France are a worthy winner, I think Belgium would have been a worthy winner of the World Cup. Really progressive, solid football.
And I don't mean any offense to Croatia in any way. But for me, the final was Belgium-France. And I'm pretty sure I more or less said that on our podcast, the eve of the World Cup final.
Yeah,
I pretty much said that. So
that's a fair assessment.
Yep, but man, Misha, I don't want to keep you much longer. I know you gotta travel and stuff. You got a lot of stuff going on, so I just want to thank you so much for being with us. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Yeah, my pleasure.
I have one last question for you, Misha, and thank you so much for coming on, man. I've really enjoyed this perspective. Who is give me a favorite Russian player of the tournament, and then give me just kind of like I did with Hazard. Did you have a player that you just really enjoyed watching this World Cup? I'd love to hear your thought.
Well, hey, it's a hard question. Yeah, I think I'm not going to give you a favorite Russian player, but I will just say, the Russian team played really well as a team, and and I will emphasize that because that's the way the sport should be played, And when it's all played around just one single player, even if the team wins, I don't think that just does the beauty of football as it should be. So yeah, go Russian team.
Beautiful. And I love the way that Russia's best moment, winning that penalty kick, really took the whole team to do that and the whole team together, just like what you're saying. I know that may
Love
be a
that.
little bit. I mean, that's what it is. It's a team sport. It's a passing sport, and
You
that's
bet.
probably why Brazil suffered a little. But
Mm.
Mike, did I hear some? You got any tunes for us to play us out?
That's it.
Beautiful. Hey everybody, this has been Mike and Leb's Talk Football. We've been wrapping up the World Cup. Season 2 has begun. We're going to give you guys a nice preview of the Premier League here pretty soon. And man, it's upon us. Starts this weekend. Thanks
Good night,
everybody.
guys.
Hey,
Good
thanks
night,
so much,
everybody.
Misha. I hope we can get you back on the show if you have any time, man. Thank you for taking this time out tonight. Thank you, our faithful listeners, for hanging in there. Caleb and I kind of took a little summer break. We'll be back strong. We're super stoked for the Premier League final.
Love it.
See you soon, guys.
Thanks.
You are all I want. Baby, it's settled. I promise I'll settle. You are all I want.